Be discussing about why Paul boldly made it clear to us that there is a future for Christian believers after death. So we will read from 2 Corinthians chapter 5, from the verse 1. I read, "For we know that if our earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal dwelling in the heavens, not made with hands." Wow. So this tells us that in the heavenly places, there is buildings that is permanent, that has no present, that has no past, that has no other future. Because God said, "I am the I am." Whenever you speak to Moses, go and tell the people who sent you is called I am the I am. So he is who he is. He has no present and he has no past. Now, Paul made us know that this world we live in is a temporal place. And the question is why and how. If I take everybody back to Genesis, where from the beginning, God created man. God did not create a living man. Let's make this clear. God created a body which was lifeless. There was nothing in it, just a tent, if I should say. Then God breathed his spirit into this body, into this lifeless body. Then it became living. So this is where, or here is where, we have to understand how the whole thing works and why and how Paul was boldly or confidently saying that there is life for Christian believers after death. The dead body or the lifeless being was just the dust. So God gave spirit. Where did the spirit come from? Came from God. So if there's anywhere that the spirit has to go, it has to go back to God. And the body shall be left where it came from. So when someone dies and we are going to bury the person, all we say is, "From dust you came, so to dust you will go back." Then they will throw the body back to the dust. Now, Jesus, as he said to his disciple, "In my Father's houses, or in my Father's place, are many mansions." Are many mansions. They are buildings not built with hands. So it's a place that if Christian believers die, they will finally return to. So God created man, which was lifeless. Then God gave a life into it. I know a man who worked so hard in his whole life, built houses that he thought was the best one for him. But then he did not realize that it was just a temporary place. After a few years, he died, and the body was sent back to the dust. And that temporary place, or the beautiful mansion he built with his hand, was left behind. Let's take a farmer, for example. If a farmer who look after cattle, sheep, or whatever, builds a tent or a shelter for these animals to sleep in, when this shelter is broken down, what does the farmer do? The only thing he does is to move the animals or the sheep from that temporary place to a different destination. So this is what Paul is talking about. That if he wants to, or if he has to, enjoy what he saw when Jesus touched him on the day he was going from Damascus to persecute, or going to Damascus to persecute the children of God. Jesus touched him. So what he saw, all the people around him did not even see. Only Paul. So if Paul is talking, he's boldly talking about what he knows. Or what he knows. He said, we know, not that we believe. or we have heard, or we know, he knows what he's talking about. And it's true. This body that we live in is not who we are. We are the spirit in this body. So sometimes I feel so ashamed if I see people going to the surgery to do the mouth to look bigger, to do the bum to look bigger and sexy. I am telling you, it's not who you think you are. You are just in this temporal body. So fight, fight, fight that you make it to heaven to enjoy the new body. To enjoy the new body. So Paul said, I have fought a good fight. I have won the race, because he knew he has done what God asked him to do on this earth. So going forward, Paul goes on to say that as believers, we should work towards making it to heaven. We should forget about these earthly things. We should work hard. Paul put himself down as an example. He said, I discipline myself, I discipline my body just to make it to heaven. So how did Paul discipline his body? He worked the work of God. He preached the word of God. He did whatever God asked him to do just to make it to heaven. I encourage every one of us here today that we shouldn't look at things around us and just be happy. It's just temporary. Even the job that we do, we get good pay. The next minute we are sacked, or the job doesn't exist anymore. It's just temporary. But the only thing that is permanent is in heaven. So if we have to fight, if there's any challenge, we have to challenge ourselves. It's just to make it to heaven. That's where the new body, we will enjoy ourselves. That is where we can say we have finally landed. There's nothing on this earth. The Bible said everything shall pass away. Not even a stone will be left. So what are you telling yourself this morning? What are you telling yourself?